Hello, Acrisure agency partners. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Good afternoon to everybody else. My name is Brad Yerhausen. I'm with the National Employee Benefits Practice for Acrisure. I'm joined today by my co-host and our esteemed national practice leader, Bob Kroom. We are super excited to spend the next 45 minutes or so introducing all of you to PinPoint Plans, which is a proprietary healthcare cost containment product that was built by and for Acrisure agency partners. And before I hand it off to Bob to get started, just wanted to cover a few quick housekeeping items. As always, those of you on the call participating are in listen-only mode, just to keep background noise to a minimum. We've got quite a few attendees participating today, which is great. Listen-only mode doesn't mean we don't want to have a conversation with you. So please feel free to submit questions throughout the broadcast through the question chat box, and I will be monitoring that. And we do have a dedicated spot about 30 minutes into the broadcast where we'll pause and start to address some questions. So please submit those as they come through. Second, we are recording this. So as we always do, you're welcome to refer back to this using the same link you used to register for the broadcast. You can refer to the recording, and then you can also pass that along to any colleagues in your office that may not have been able to join us today. And then last but not least, we're gonna finish up today's broadcast. It should be about 45 minutes with a very important polling question at the end. So if that's not enough of a teaser to keep you guys on the line for 45 minutes, if you can and your schedule permits, please hang with us until the very end. We have a polling question that we'll be pushing out as we conclude. So with that, I will turn it over to Bob.
Great, thanks, Brad. I want to thank everybody for joining the webcast. We have a large group. We're currently of roughly 150 individuals, probably get up to 200 by the time we get through. So thanks for everybody for joining. I know it's a challenging time for all of us, both on the personal level and professionally. But with that comes the opportunity. So the agenda for today, we're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19, kind of the marketplace outlook and the influence that has on our business, and that is where the opportunity here exists. We're going to dive into PinPoint Plans in more detail. We're going to hear from Blake Erickson, an agency partner that has experience implementing a plan with PinPoint. And then we're going to get into kind of the marketing and sales approach going forward, which it's very exciting. And then, you know, just a reminder to save the date. There's every internal version we do, which we'll talk about more, there's an external version that goes with it. So that from a organic growth standpoint is very important. The folks speaking, myself briefly, Trent Harper and Jeremy Price from Breakpoint, Blake Erickson from Presidio, as I mentioned a moment ago, Lester Morales from Next Impact, and then Brad Yerhausen, whom you've already heard from, and you'll hear from again. Always like to tell people, you know, the takeaways. There's a lot of content in here, but there's, you know, really 5 key things to, you know, we want you to, if you don't hear anything else, we need you to hear this. The first is that PinPoint was built by Acrisure for Acrisure, includes multiple agency partners in the solution. It can help our clients create positive cash flow, which as I'm sure all aware of right now is very critical for every business owner or operator. You know, we believe that PinPoint can help all agency partners uncover organic growth opportunities, and we found out very recently that it also can help you protect your existing book of business. We've had a number of places in the country where, you know, solutions are, I guess, disruptive type solutions have been introduced to our clients and prospects, and we found ourselves in a defensive posture, which, you know, we prefer to be in an offensive posture. PinPoint is an innovative cost containment solution. You know, I always joke it's not your father's RBP plan. You know, RBP, reference-based pricing, has a few associated negatives with it, and we want to make sure your takeaway is that this is not that type of RBP plan. It's really the new breed, and we are a leader in that. And then also you can lean on the Acrisure AP network and your practice leadership for any assistance and growth opportunities. So just very quickly on the COVID part, you know, I think we've all heard the stories recently, and even saw another one today as it relates to just COVID testing. You know, we're all trying to understand what the actual cost impact is going to be. But what we can see in any data that we see is that what is billed by a healthcare provider and paid by a traditional BUCA-based PPO plan or BUCA-based plan is very different than what a Medicare reimbursement is. And sometimes it's, 4 to 1 higher, but in other cases, it's even higher than that. So, but then that's a theme you're going to see go throughout this in today's presentation. So you're going to hear from Breakpoint and PinPoint plans on kind of some of the things, but just on the book of business year to date, we started the year off with a 22% increase in claims utilization tracking, just because we wrote a lot of new clients, so that was expected. But what we didn't expect, which none of us did at the time, was the change from that point. And so from that point, if you look at the different time periods, it's continued to decrease to the point now. The fourth bullet is just the 54% decrease in pre-authorizations, which is kind of driving to the next slide, which is, okay, if that's happening, then what's going to happen to future rates for fully insured business? There's been some reports, this particular report, of premium increases in the 40% range, barring any federal action. And then if you kind of look at what some carriers have actually submitted to different departments of insurance to be their average 2021 rate increase, you'll see that just a kind of a cross section of different carriers here. Obviously, there are a lot of them, but only one of them is single digit. The rest of them are double digits. So that creates a challenge for our clients. It creates a great opportunity for us. You've heard me talk and Brad over time, and I have a name for these individuals, the disruptors out there. I won't use it on this broader call, but there are people out there that are, calling on our clients. And Health Rosetta's, Dave Chase is kind of the poster child for that in my mind. A very bright, intelligent person from outside of our industry, really bringing some very creative ideas to our clients. And you notice some other logos. There's the Heads Up Advisors and Next Gen. Virgin is one in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan that's emerged. But these are firms that are out there calling on our clients and prospects with a different message than what you would typically hear from a traditional insurance broker. And so when you look at that, then here's kind of what we do know. We know that COVID-19 will have an impact on employer-provided benefit programs for 2021. We're still trying to understand the impact in the short term, but we know that employers need liquidity to help weather the storm, and this is an opportunity for us to provide a tool to them that could provide that. We know there are significant opportunities right now where we can educate employers on other, paths to offer, protect their financials from an employer spend, but also the employee. And it also helps us drive organic growth for our practice. What we found, and again, I can think of 4 or 5 of these in the last 2 weeks, if we're not showing these options to our clients, our competition will be glad to do so. We'd much rather be in, playing offense and defense, but the good news is this tool provides us a great way to play both. And then with that, I'll introduce Trent Harper to tell you more about PinPoint plans.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. So I'm Trent Harper. I'm CAO here at Breakpoint. And so the idea here today is to kind of go over the who, what, and why of PinPoint, right? This is going to be the first of a series of 6 webinars. And we hope that you as brokers and consultants can come out of here with a level of education that you can take to your employers to engage and to prospect and to protect your book, as kind of Bob was mentioning, because we certainly are seeing a shift in healthcare. And this is a holistic approach. It's not a common RBP offer that you might have seen. There's much more to it. And so I hope that what we go through hits some strings with you and keeps you engaged so that you can be part of this process. And it really starts with I'll give you a little brief background just about BreckPoint. We've been around since 2002, joined Acrisure in 2017, and we're from sunny Las Vegas, where casinos opened before churches. So that's what happens in Vegas, I guess, during COVID. You know, and we really had our start in P&C. And everything we've always done was on the self-funded side, on the self-insured side. So running, you know, self-insured groups, kind of like a co-op in the P&C world, captives, and we started getting into EB through MEC and limited benefit plans when the ACA passed. And so we were seeing for ourselves that as we learned more about EB, that we really wanted to kind of start eating our own cooking. And so we started to self-fund our employee benefit plan in 2015. And part of this journey is a journey that we've kind of went through ourselves. And so you're going to kind of hear us kind of intersplice that as we discuss today about PinPoint, because really this all kind of came together in early 2019 as we were trying to solve certain problems for ourselves, and we were able to engage with a great agency partner out of Michigan, 44 North, and engage with Lester and his team at Next Impact, and this really represents, you know, a solution, you know, built by advisors and not just vendors, right? Something that we use. BreckPoint was the first one to use PinPoint and be part of this, and so hopefully you can kind of share in our story here. So PinPoint really is built by and for Acrisure, right? We feel like this is, like I said earlier, a holistic approach that leaves fully insured, comes into the self-funding arena where that transparency and that control and that potential cost saving is, that allows you to be creative with cost containment solutions, both in RX and other ways, like our proprietary stop-loss solution that kind of sits at the foundation of PinPoint. So the PinPoint team is really, like I mentioned, BreckPoint, 44 North, and you as the Acrisure agency partner, right? Expanding the income, the buckets there that Acrisure has access to in the employee benefits world by bringing in stop loss fees and underwriting fees, RX, and then of course keeping your commission and everything there. That bringing in best in class TPA partner like HMA, and then Next Impact that lives and breathes what we're about to talk about today, and is just a fantastic support for marketing, sales support, and you'll be hearing more from them at the end of this broadcast. So we're going to go ahead and level set. I'll briefly turn this over to Jeremy from our team here at BreckPoint.
So at BreckPoint, because everything we do is founded in self-funding in one way or another, we like to tell a little story about self-funding that I think sets the stage pretty well for what we're going to talk about. And if you think about insurance premiums, if you pay your insurance premiums, whether they're health insurance premiums or car insurance premiums or whatever they may be, insurance companies take those premiums and divide them broadly into three buckets. Claims funding is bucket number one. Pay expenses, so expense bucket is number two. You know, there's a lot of expenses to run an insurance company. And then insurance companies are designed to make money, and that's great. You know, we're all capitalists here. We all want to do the same. So they want to put as much money as they can in the profit bucket. So from a very simplistic level, self-funding is exactly the same thing. is we underwrite and put money into claims funding for your client, right, when we self-fund. There's expenses associated with self-funding, whether that's stop loss or reinsurance, paying broker commissions, and TPAs and all the things that go into that. And then instead of paying the profits to the insurance company, a self-funded employer has the opportunity in one way or another to keep the profits for themselves as savings. And so what we really want to focus on today is bucket number one, claims funding inside the overall self-funded three-bucket strategy. If we can shrink the claims funded bucket significantly, then we can help employers put more money in the profit bucket.
Yes, that's perfect. And so that underpinning, right, that's kind of the first pillar of PinPoint, is this concept of self-funding. So when we go back and we look at the fully insured carriers, right, we can see this is a graph showing the stock prices of the large carriers. You see the little dip with recently with COVID and such, but you can kind of see where they were and where they are now, right? And these, their goal obviously is to make money, and the way that they can do that, especially after the ACA with some different caps on loss ratios and various things, is that the premium has to go up, right? And that's what we see generally in the marketplace, both as consumers and as consultants in this field. But it's not just that, right? They also want to be the best network, right? They want to have the best discounts. And so we see these build charges that just continue to go up and up. And there's really a really strange disconnect between what would be the cost, right, of the procedure, of the services that are being provided, and the price. And you've seen this yourself, right? Just look at an EOB. Here's charges for 50 grand, and allowable charges, are 25 grand. And you think, well, gosh, thank goodness I'm in this network, right? And so there's this difference between the actual cost and the price that's being charged. And not only that, but there's an inverted relationship between quality and cost. So this chart is showing in green, we have these billed averages in Atlanta for several hospitals, right? The orange line is showing the quality. So higher cost doesn't mean, greater quality. And then we start looking at, well, what does this mean as a percent of Medicare? And this is 733%, on average of Medicare across these hospital systems. What you see in blue is that Medicare average and that reimbursement, right? And so remember, in PinPoint, we're going to be talking and educating about RBP. There's a lot more to what Jeremy had mentioned about shrinking that claims bucket, bundled payments, direct purchasing, member engagement. There's a lot more to it, right? But it's important to understand when we say reference-based pricing, RBP, instead of using the charge master and the billed charges that come across as the reference point for a discount, right? We now use Medicare as that reference point. And the good thing is here, there's going to be an entire webinar about reference-based pricing and really digging into this to make sure that you are educated, well-educated, and talking to your clients, in a positive way with this. Because it's just fantastic education to understand how Medicare works, and that is a whole lot closer to the actual cost of what's being done, and actually includes profit for that provider within the Medicare rate. So when we look at this geographically across the country, we see multiple states, and we're seeing this image is showing the percentage of Medicare on average in these various states, ranging from 400% to 900% of Medicare. And so this is where I'll weave back in kind of our story here. We, as an employer, we took a first step in 2015 to self-fund our employee benefit plan, but we kept seeing costs go up and up. We were on Cigna, and we needed something different. We needed a meaningful change. We went past, we couldn't tweak deductibles anymore, co-pays anymore, co-insurances anymore. We were grappling with the fact that we needed to have the employees bear more and more cost into this plan, and that's just what we didn't want. We didn't want to do that. So in 2019, we jumped into RBP, right? We made this decision, and I remember looking at the numbers, being the nerd little wannabe underwriter that I am, right? And said, this is what we need to do. This fixes our problems. And I tell you what, it was a horrid experience. And we went into RBP kind of like a general, probably what you've seen elsewhere, solution. And what made it horrid was the trying to communicate with the employees, engaging them, trying to make sure that they understood what was going on, who to call. We had obviously our TPA vendor, we had our RBP vendor. We thought we were doing something good by allowing an advocacy vendor and paying for that as a fixed cost, right? And at the end of the day, I'm sitting in front of my wife, as well as everybody else here, trying to say, yeah, well, this is going to be worth it, right? And it was a rough sell.
And we're insurance people, right? For us not to be able to navigate it very well, imagine groups that aren't insurance focused.
Yeah. So we've lived it, right? Yeah. And we were about mid-year 2019, after trying to find some other solutions, and things were coming to grips that, and we had to make a decision of, we either need to figure out how to make this work, right? Because we like what we're seeing on the financial side, but it's getting to the point that the financial savings may not be worth the noise, right? And that's where PinPoint is really different, and what got put together here. And so there's really three big things, right? And I know we're kind of focusing on reference-based pricing, because I think it's important to kind of understand that foundation. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's important that there's three main issues that we were trying to solve for, right? And one of those was members and their doctors, right? A full RBP replacement, even in the physician and ancillary sector, is just not worth the noise. So we needed a solution that allowed the employees to still have a network and not have to be in negotiation every time they go to the doctor or their physician or any sort of specialist, right? And not be in that position. But at the same time, we didn't want it to be half the network that they were used to. And so what makes PinPoint different is we're not only taking the PHCS network for physician and ancillary, but we're wrapping it with P&OA, which is a network owned by the TPA, right, and is a lot more nimble, a lot more focused, and with a true purpose of onboarding physicians. And that's what's neat. So for me and my wife, we actually, at the beginning of 2020, when we switched, right, for the Breakpoint plan switched to this, we were able to onboard 2 of our doctors, very straightforward, very easy, into the network, right? And now my wife doesn't need to be trained on everything insurance when she goes to the doctor, right? So that was a big win for us. Beyond that is the service, right? And you mentioned, I had mentioned, just about our experience with that TPA, the RBP vendor being separate, advocacy, who do we call, who does what, where do we go? And it was just some rough service experience in 2019. And it wasn't just that. Our HR, right, was just being hammered, right? Yeah. She didn't quite understand it. It was just a rough time. So when we switched, this also solved a lot by what we see as the only option in the marketplace that has the repricing, advocacy, TPA, and just a high level of service all in one. So when we went through our onboarding process, our HR person just could not stop talking about how wonderful of an experience it was through the onboarding process, the engagement, the support in education, and everything that went with that. And so 2020 came along, and really the noise went away. The third piece is the balance bills. That's what you always hear about in RBP, right? And that balance bill, and we're looking at some stats here. We are still, we had balance bills from 2019. And so we know what that looks like. This approach is just completely different. We mentioned it before. This is not your father's RBP plan. We're not talking about post-claim negotiations. We're not even talking about pre-claim notifications to that employer. We are talking about pre-claim, pre-service negotiations with letter of agreement in hand for those high-cost inpatient, outpatient, hospitalization services, right? That really brings in the provider as a partner, not an enemy in this, right? A lot of where RBP goes wrong in the marketplace is treating that provider as an enemy. And in a standard PPO, you're looking at roughly 4 to 6% for balance bills, right? And you're looking at, a good network, 50 to 60% discount, right? So when we look at this holistically, we're looking at a network that is larger than anything else out there, right? Because we can quickly and easily add physician and ancillary, and then the world is kind of open to us on the hospitalization side. We are looking at a fantastic level of savings, close to 80% savings here, and just a fantastic history that beats PPO when it comes to balance bills, right? And so now we have something that actually shrinks that claims bucket, right? And starts producing that cash flow and that positive cash for our clients and your clients. So RX is not a small part of this, right? Medical spending is important, but from the RX side, I think what 44 North has done with Arrow has been fantastic. We have just a brief story. I'll turn it over to Jeremy so you can kind of hear our experience with something like this.
So we've had, one of my sons has been a type 1 diabetic for the last 14 years. So we've played the pharmacy game for a long time, and really kind of know everything about what goes on, and we've seen it all. After switching over to Arrow RX with 44 North, after the first month, so what they do is they do a month-end claims review, and then they go to work. And so what they did is they called me and said, listen, we need to switch your pharmacy to a pharmacy that is going to save the plan some money. If you'll do that, we'll cut your copay in half. And yeah, that's cool, right? We like that. They called me the next month and said, well, we've been working on your case. What we can do for you is if you'll switch to an international mail order pharmacy, and they had it all ready to go. Same, they did the research, the drug was the same, the supplies were the same. It's going to save the plan money, and we're going to we're going to eliminate your copay altogether. So this call went to my wife, the second call, and she called me afterwards and said, hey, I had this great call, but I got a little nervous afterwards. This might be a scam. Is this for real? Are they really going to not charge us any money? And we talked through it, it was all on the up and up, and she was thrilled. In 14 years, she's never had anybody call her proactively and ask if they could save her money. She was just thrilled. And so afterwards, my first reaction is the sales guy reaction of, yes, this is what we're selling. It's awesome. But there's some truth to that, right? So as Trent's walked through our story, we have the opportunity to go through this and live this and see the difference and how good it is for our employees. And it brings a lot of passion to our voice as we go out and talk about it, because we know this works well. We know it's not what RBP is in most of the marketplace, and we're very passionate about selling it because it works.
Yeah, so in this next slide, you'll see Jeremy is, in this case, not sad to be just a statistic, right? As part of this, 6,000 prescriptions successfully addressed with alternative reimbursement solutions. We win as the plan sponsor for savings in the plan. And so the good thing is there's a lot of information here, but there's going to be an entire webinar just about RX. I think right now it's important for you to know that these solutions aren't available with CVS, Optum, the large national PBMs out there. These solutions come with the transparent PBM and doing something different, right? And so, when we look at this all coming together, it really, you want to know about rates and what's happening there. And so that's where this last piece of kind of cost containment and outside of the box solution comes in, and that is the stop loss coming through a captive-based solution that is proprietary to Acrisure. It is, you can see here life counts, what states it's available in, and so I want to get into some of these numbers briefly because it's important for you to see what's happened thus far. Yeah. This is not a brand new, never been tried approach, and so it's important that I think we run through these real quick. So you can see the kind of submissions that have come across with some averages there in employee count. And then this is kind of the exciting part, kind of the costs and savings, right? Where we're seeing about an $8,000 PEPY, so per employee per year, current spend, $9,000 for renewal, and then where PinPoint comes in. And so that's over 20% savings over renewal, right? So just some exciting stuff and something that we want to share with you, right? And we want you to know that, again, this is not about only savings, right? This is about doing it in such a way that provides a fantastic service, the transparency and control that comes with self-funding. So here's some industries that if you have these in your book of business, definitely put them to the top of the list. Now, this works for all industries, right? Yeah. We've quoted all over the place across the country. And, we constantly hear, RBP doesn't work in insert states here, right? Like we always hear that. Yeah. And so we want to hit home, right, that this is not your normal RBP solution. It's really a holistic approach. And I think there's going to be, this is, again, the first of 6 webinars. And so if anything, we want you to come away kind of being excited about an option and a solution that can help your top line, help you prospect, and help you protect your book by talking about something different, right? And that can really do something different. So at this stage, I'm going to hand it over to Blake Erickson at Presidio, who can kind of tell of his experience with all of this, so that you don't have to just hear us nerds here at Breakpoint to be all excited about it. So Blake, go ahead.
Thanks, gentlemen. So I'm Blake Erickson. I'm an account executive here and producer at Presidio. I apologize for the terrible mugshot up there. I think I was on about 4 hours of sleep that day. That was about a week and a half after my daughter was born in 2018. So did want to just touch on a couple of things and some of our experience working with the PinPoint plans and what we've done for some of our clients. This program is very different, and I've been a strong advocate in the market for quite a while now on some of the challenges that we face with fully insured carriers and even self-funded when utilizing BUCA networks. So I've been out there. I've worked with National General. I've worked with 6 Degrees. I've worked with AMPS. I've worked with ELAP. This program is unlike anything you've seen from that perspective. Even with a lot of the revisions, if you're familiar with any of these vendors, they've undergone changes within their own reference-based pricing solutions. ELAP specifically, utilizes the Imagine Health network now in Chicagoland. This program still has a very, very different take and different feel from our clients' perspective compared to some of those more, I'm going to call them more progressive solutions. They're not more progressive. Their ancient history is really what it comes down to, and it's just a matter of getting this in front of clients and prospects for them to understand that. I've been a very strong proponent of out-of-the-box solutions since I started with Presidio about 5 years ago. We've been an Acrisure agency partner since 2014. Brad Ehrhausen was formerly our practice leader before he moved over to Bob's team nationally, and I think at times I even gave Brad a little bit of heartburn with my take and my view of the fully insured market, considering they still pay a good chunk of our bills over here. But I realize that if we're not out in the marketplace talking about these types of solutions, that someone else is going to do it for us, and they're going to talk to our clients, and they're going to talk to our prospects, and we're going to lose business because of that. I talk to my clients as much as I talk to prospects about these types of things. Now, my service team doesn't always appreciate that, especially back in the day when I was talking about ELAP and National General and AMPS and 6 Degrees, because they knew it was going to wind up being more work on them. One of the other participants on the call today is Paul Barauer, who's the account manager on one of the accounts I'm going to talk to you about here in a minute that moved over to PinPoint Health Plans last year. Our prospects and our discussions regarding things related to PinPoint specifically over the last 9 months have really taken a shift. Prospects appreciate and they're willing to hire us based on the education we're providing them that there are alternative solutions, whether that's to the fully insured market or to the way they're self-funding today. They're not always willing to execute on a change like that from what they're doing today, but they're still willing to hire us for having brought that knowledge to them and to illustrate that there is a path forward that's not the same as what they've been doing for all these years. I'm going to touch on one particular group that we moved over January 1st, the PinPoint plans for January 1st, 2020. It's a transportation industry group. They struggle with internal employee communication. They don't truly have an HR director. Their compliance manager handles everything from HR to payroll to accounting to bookkeeping. They're about 60 employees. Their fully insured carrier came to them with a 10% rate increase. We looked at the market. There wasn't much competitive in the fully insured market. We took a look at PinPoint. PinPoint came in and we were looking at a 12% decrease for a similar plan. So a 22% differential between the renewal and what PinPoint had offered. The group is extremely cost conscious. And in the end, rather than actually cutting costs and saving money, they actually decided to increase their plan designs for the first time in 15 years. And they actually offered more robust plan designs to their employees at a lower cost than what they were charging employees previously. They didn't increase company spend. They kept their company spend flat and bought a better product at a lower cost for their employees than they otherwise could have doing that. We've had 0 member complaints since this transition. This is a group that had previously moved to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, which owns 70% of the market here in Illinois. And we were getting phone calls once a week with issues finding doctors, billing issues, And Blue Cross, from any member's perspective in Illinois, does a 5 times better job than any other fully insured carrier in our market. So to be able to transition away from a fully insured program that's historically not that noisy, but for this group was extremely noisy, to an RBP-based program and have absolutely zero noise, zero member complaints from it since has been absolutely incredible. HMA on the third-party administrator side has been stellar. We've had zero balance bills. I know Jeremy touched on a few slides back, or Trent touched on a few slides back, this 99.6% acceptance rate. I had a very interesting conversation with HMA, the third-party administrator for this program, a few weeks ago about that 0.4% and what could we do to actually get this down to a zero if we could actually go out and sell this as a zero. And his response to me was, well, we can and we do. The reason we get that 0.4% is when an employee insists on going to a provider, they know in advance that provider is going to balance bill because we've gone through the pre-negotiation and the provider is not willing to work with us. We've offered that employee an alternative solution at lower cost with higher quality metrics, but the employee insists on going there where they know they're going to get a balanced bill. That's where that 4 out of 1,000 balance bill claims are coming from, and they're still not going to a legal repercussion like you might see with an ELAP type program or a 6 Degrees or a National General type program. Overall, I can't express how happy we've been to have seen this program launch and be made available to us. I've got another group in the quoting process right now with PinPoint for a September 1st effective date that was looking at I want to say a 21% increase from their fully insured medical carrier as well. Very excited to get that proposal back here shortly and take it out to that client. All of that said, Brad, I will turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Blake. Really appreciate that, and you are spot on. You definitely gave me a fair share of heartburn as you came into the Presidio family, but I'm glad you did because it's led us to some great outcomes like that. So thanks for sharing that with everybody. So this is the point in the broadcast where we are going to pause and go to the question box. So we've had a few questions come in, and I'll I guess throw this up for grabs, and Jeremy, Trent, feel free to fight over who wants to respond to that. But a couple of general questions just about, the geographic nature of where RBP works and where it doesn't work. Could you maybe speak just to the quote volume that you've seen coming in, where those groups are located, and do you see hot pockets of where RBP is more successful than not?
Yeah, we do see a lot of success, honestly, in Florida. That tends to be a very hot spot. I don't know if it's the retirement community. Looking back at the map, right, there's like 900% of Medicare is the billed average there in Florida. But just some fantastic success in Florida. Generally speaking, there are some areas that are, rougher than others. San Francisco as an example with Sutter. So any of Dallas Fort Worth is, can be some struggles, but that doesn't mean that there are not other solutions with, direct contracting or other type solutions. And so we've been able to solve for that, even if we feel like there might be a pocket of, a hospital system that is, fairly closed off. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I would just add, if you feel like you're in a geography that has a challenging RBP market, or you've heard that it has, or you've had a bad experience, please join us for the webinar where we do a deep dive into RBP, because we're going to talk a lot more in depth about why this is a little bit different, why you should dig in here. Right? Don't just dismiss that this isn't going to work for me, please, because this could really be a great prospecting or a defensive posturing tool for you.
Yeah, and to that point, the RBP webcast, I think we'll dive a little bit deeper. Bob, I'm sorry I cut you off as you were jumping.
That's okay. I was going to say there's been success in Chicago and in Pennsylvania, all over the Midwest, Michigan. the thing to remember is that if you have an employer, even if they're based in California, but they might have employees all over the country. So while some of the folks in the Sutter area will still be paying a price closer to what a traditional PPO reimbursement might be, everyone else in the companies would be paying less. So there's still a benefit there.
Yeah, I believe there was a question that came in specifically about Florida as well, and the group that Blake spoke of, I believe, actually has a location or a subset of employees in Florida as well as the Chicagoland area.
Correct.
Is that
we
right?
are Illinois. Yep, you're correct. Illinois and Florida.
Okay. So, a couple more questions. Proposal turnaround time. Jeremy, Trent, how quickly can you guys turn a proposal around, and what information do you need for a proposal?
Right. Yeah, great question. So because this is self-funded and every group has to go through an underwriting process, it's going to take a little bit longer probably than a fully insured quote. So we'd ask for a little bit of patience there and a little bit of understanding that there's more that goes into it than insurers with filed rates. Our goal is to get back to you within 3 to 5 business days with a quote. And we're going to get into more of this again when we get down the line in some of the other webinars. But we've dialed this in. We've got great resources with an intake team and an underwriting team, which you'll have access to as we go along. Is that a fair answer, Brad?
Yeah, no, I think that's appropriate. And again, we structured this as a multi episode series because we knew this was more than just an hour-long discussion with all of you. So there are a lot of questions that are coming in that are great questions, and they're getting probably a little bit deeper than we have time to address today. What Bob and I will do with the Breakpoint team is put together an FAQ document. So no question will go unanswered, but I think in the interest of time, we will keep things moving. There was one question that just was specific to what you guys do at Breakpoint about who is actually underwriting the stop loss. So could you just maybe speak to that?
Yeah, so we here at Breakpoint are actually underwriting that. So we have an actuarial manual and all the tools and everything to do that. And underwrite that here. And that's kind of what makes this unique, right? Kind of for Acrisure is that typically speaking, that's not an underwriting fee that you can generally tap into in other markets that we can here, right? And so that's exciting for us. We've started in work comp and actually started underwriting work comp, and over the years have been able to add EB to that. So we're excited to be part of that.
Great, awesome. So again, we've got a ton of great questions in here. With the time we've got left, which is about 11 minutes or so, we're going to keep going. Again, no question will go unanswered. We will get an FAQ document, or we'll reach out to you directly if we did not address your question that's come in so far. But you've heard from all the technical guys. In fact, I've never heard someone describe themselves as a wannabe actuary, but we heard it today from Trent Harper. So congratulations on that. So with moving from a technical in the weeds level and kicking it to the proverbial and very successful sales guy, you've heard him referenced a few times on this call. That's Lester Morales with Next Impact. So Next Impact is a strategic partner and co-architect of the PinPoint Plans product with the Breakpoint 44 North team. And they bring a ton of marketing expertise and horsepower to all of you on this call who want to now take some of this messaging that you're starting to hear today and bring that out to your local marketplace and drive organic growth with some disruption behind it. So Lester, I'll turn it over to you to talk about what you do.
Perfect. Thanks, Brad. And good afternoon, good morning to everybody. So I get to do the fun part about this. Normally, I'm the technical guy on these calls, so I love and nice job to my co-speakers on this. But what we did, obviously, the education around anything that is new is such a key part of this. And so as we talk about these types of plans all day long. So for anybody that doesn't know, I've known Bob Kroon my entire career. I worked for him at Willis for 10 years. I had my own $3.5 million book. So I come at this from a very advisory point of view, where I wouldn't put something in front of my clients or in front of you guys that I wouldn't put in front of my clients. And so when we thought about the marketing of this, obviously it comes with the education part being such a big deal. And so what we have built exclusively for PinPoint is its own marketing plan. And so we have built this in a form of 6 webinar campaigns where every month we are going to dive into a subject. I don't need to read the screen to you, but you'll see the whole narrative here is, hey, because of COVID, because we're in a new norm, we need to re-engineer, retake a look at your plans. And we're going to break this down as PinPoint has very distinct things. And how do we get in the weeds? Now, the great part about this is all content and value you're going to be able to bring to your prospects and clients. So next slide, Brad. So what this means for you guys is a monthly cadence. Now, what a monthly cadence is, every single week, there is going to be an email and a LinkedIn post. Now, some of these are going to be internally focused for you guys in regards to education so that you can become a little bit more familiar about not only PinPoint, but about these strategies that are built inside of PinPoint, from the RX and the specialty management to how we use direct contracting and reference-based pricing together to produce a better scenario. The best part about this is we built this for your opportunity to what we call co-host. Now, you are not getting up on stage speaking about something that you don't understand. This is merely an opportunity to send to your clients and prospects the emails and the social posts, inviting them to consume more information in your emails and also join the webinars. So this same exact webinar that we're doing with a slant towards employers is going to be done where you are now able to invite your clients and prospects to hear about this through an invitation that is actually going to be sent by you to them. And all of the information, all of the content, all of the presentation, all of the deliverable is done by the PinPoint team, where you get to take credit and invite your clients and prospects to these great calls. So what you can expect, and here's a couple of examples, are not only emails that will be coming out that will attach or send somebody to a landing page for them to read more, for them to watch a video, for them to download a white paper, a case study, anything that's going to get them more educated about PinPoint, but it's also going to invite them to the webinars themselves. We'll support not only email through also LinkedIn. So if you're not a social media user, I would tell you I've highly grown my book of business advertising and educating through LinkedIn. These all are going to lead to the next slide, a landing page that people are going to be able to A, consume more information, but B, understand who the speakers are, what the topics are, and the most important are people that are going to register for the actual webinar. What's great about this is we'll be able to track all this and understand who's enrolling in the webinars and be able to feed that information back to you to tell you that your clients and prospects are enrolling in webinars, obviously giving you an opportunity to reach out to them and engage them in further conversation. So a fantastic way to market not only PinPoint, but yourself. And so the last thing I'll need you with, guys, is these types of plans are all we have been marketing for the last almost 4 years. And so what Jeremy, Trent, Brad, Bob have all been saying, guys, we are seeing huge successes in this. And it's not just for your 10 life group, your 50 life group, your 80 life group. we are working with several thousand life groups where we're able to show people $3, $5, $7 million of savings down to the bottom line with a plan that's going to get their employees to the highest quality healthcare. So I'm super pumped to be part of the PinPoint team. And Brad, I'll turn it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Lester. So just to spend the last few minutes wrapping up and giving some direction on next steps. So as Lester said, really what will happen starting tomorrow is you'll get an email. So everybody that attended today's webcast will receive an email from Lester's team prompting you to do one of a few things. And it's up to you kind of where you take it from there. First thing would be just to sign up on a landing page to stay connected with PinPoint. So as new case studies come out, as new success stories come out, we'll keep you posted on the evolution of PinPoint and go from there. We'll also post a replay of today's webcast. So you'll be able to access that from a recording perspective. And then as Lester said, you will also then through that landing page have the opportunity to sign up and raise your hand to co-host, which again relieves you of any direct speaking obligations, but really just puts you in the driver's seat from a marketing perspective to push this out to your prospects and clients. And again, we do have that first employer-facing webcast scheduled for 2 weeks from today, same time as today's webinar started, July 14th, 2 o'clock Eastern. So all of that will come and hit your inbox tomorrow, and you can engage with the platform and Lester's mousetrap that he's built from there. So if you're starting to think through and the wheels are turning of who would be an ideal candidate to reach out to and engage into this webcast series. We mentioned a few times earlier today, PinPoint works for groups down to 25 enrolled. That was a question that came in a few times, you know, what's the minimum group size? 15 to 25, you know, typically works. Ideal candidate would be 100 plus enrolled employees. There are some industries listed on your screen here we covered already that tend to gravitate and just grasp the value of this strategy over others. But I mean, honestly, it's fair game for anything. And then from a decision maker standpoint, we see that this talk track seems to resonate really well with CEOs and CFOs. It's focused more on a cash flow liquidity discussion. And again, we'll get into the weeds further as we go through the webcast series for all of you, and you can decide ultimately who the right audience is for your prospects. So last but not least, I promised a poll, and I will follow through on that. So the poll will launch in just a second, and the question around the poll pertains to your pipeline. So some of you may know or have heard of MyEdge. MyEdge is now owned by Zywave, and MyEdge is a prospecting tool. So in partnership with MyEdge and the relationship that we have at an Acrisure level with Zywave, we put together a PinPoint pipeline builder program. So what does that mean? Basically, that means for 90 days, we will be running with the Zywave MyEdge team a prospect data extract report for every producer on this call that wants free data for 90 days. There is a survey that you'll take, an intake form that will give us a little bit more information about who you are and the prospects that you would like information on. We'll send you that at the conclusion of this call. But right now I'm going to launch this poll, and essentially all we need to know at this point is, do you want to participate or get more information? Yes or no? So is the poll up? It looks like it is. We're collecting responses. Awesome. So I'm going to leave that up for just a second. That is limited capacity. So for those of you on the call that do want to join, just get your request in ASAP, and then again, expect to get a follow-up from Bob and I later today. So with that, I will turn it over to Bob to wrap things up, and I just advanced the slides to the contact screen, which has a phone number and email address for any inquiries going forward.
Great. Well, thanks, Brad. And kind of in closing, a couple of things that were interesting. So I had a discussion with a leader from Anthem this week, and was surprised to find that nationally, and again, they have 14 health plans in the country, 50% of their quotes for groups under 100 now are self-funded, either level funded really, but that's self-funded. So I think that's kind of an interesting point to take away. So kind of going back to the, if you heard nothing else, I mean, the first point, which I want to hit home on again, is that, this was built by Acrisure for Acrisure. And if we sell it, successfully to a prospect, it includes, the folks on this call as the agency partner, the retail broker, but it also includes 2 other agency partners that also create revenue from that. It provides the best solution we could put in front of a client, but it also creates a lot of revenue for Acrisure. Great thing. It's going to help our clients with the cash flow at a time where they need it. And we don't know what COVID holds for us, but it's starting to look like there's going to be a fall version of this wonderful experience. So I think cash flow is going to continue to be an issue for them. And then, this is a great way to create organic growth for all of us. And I think, those that have had to fight it defensively already see that there's, a great story to talk about here when we're defending against one of these other solutions. We have, it's not our father's RBP. I mean, what you'll find is this is a solution that delivers the promise of RBP initially, which is savings, but it continues to deliver on the service, which the original RBP failed miserably at. And then, there's people on this call that can help you within the Acrisure AP network, and there are other people out that aren't on this call that can help you. So if you're interested in this and you don't feel like you have the experience or the knowledge, we encourage you to participate in the webinars, because we're going to teach, self-funding is kind of baked into all these webinars. So that's why there's internal and external versions, so that we can use it to educate our teams on concepts they may not be familiar with, and then do the same for our prospects. So again, thanks to all of you that joined the call, that we had a tremendous turnout for today. And as Brad said earlier, those questions that we did not get to on the call, we will put together an FAQ document and respond to everyone that registered. And then again, feel free to reach out to the contacts you saw on the screen if you want to go ahead and get a quote, or have some questions you want to go ahead and send directly. So again, thanks to you all, and have a great afternoon, or I guess it's all afternoon for everybody now. So thanks. Take care. Bye.